Welcome to a new episode of Outside the Panels with your host, Johnny the Machine Hughes.
An episode of Outside the Panels. I'm your host, Johnny the Machine Hughes, and I have never ever in the history of the show interviewed a comedian. Looks like that's not going to change today. It is Mr. Barney Smith with his dada jokes. Barney, thanks for taking the time.
Hey, thanks a lot for having me on, John. This has been great. I'm very excited I'm able to sit down and talk to you about, my latest book, but also being able to, just talk about all things dad jokes and puns, and also, all things comics too. Whatever you want to grab a hold of, we'll go for it. Yeah.
Cool. Sounds like a plan. A plan. Start at the top then. Dada jokes. Why have a book full of these Christmas cracker groan-inducing, oh my God, I can't believe I'm stuffed of turkey type of jokes?
Right. Okay. So good question, because what I did, it was like, I want us to take a journey back a few years ago. There was a year called 2020. So we all remember 2020, and it was a raw time. 2020 was a raw time here in the United States. We were going through an election period. We also, the whole world was hit with COVID. So there was a lot of stuff going on, and you could actually, it was really easy to get in a fight with someone on the internet. It was super easy to get in a fight with. It was to the point where anybody could say anything and somebody would turn it into something about something to make it divisive. Someone even, you could say, oh, I had I saw a purple a purple grape on the elevator, or say something complete, and someone would turn it into something to make it something about science or technology or politics. So what I was able to do, Johnny, is that I kind of was very proactive to say, you know what, I'm going to make sure at least my corner of the internet is a safe place to be. So what I started doing, and I'd always post some, weird pun or something around those lines, like every couple of weeks or so, but I doubled down and decided it's like every day I was going to post a dad joke every day. So basically what I did was, the first ones, the low hanging fruit, the ones that are recycled a lot over the internet, those were the first ones I started putting up. And yeah. And so then what I ended up doing, Johnny, is then I said, you know what, I need to, I'm going to look deeper. So I actually ended up going into, I love old-timey radio programs. I love old-timey radio programs. I would find old jokes from Jack Benny, George and Gracie Allen, Charlie McCarthy. Some of these jokes that have long been forgotten, that were written by, comedy writers 70, 80 years ago. And what I did is decided to kind of brush those off and then start bringing them back. So that's what some of the jokes were on there. The other thing too about my first book, Dad Jokes, obviously there's a first book here. So Dad Jokes, I would say about 5% of them were actually, I kind of came up with myself through some observation, but it's not super impressive because you're only talking about a play on words. It's not like I'm not like some, overly impressive comedy writer where I'm just researching and stuff like that. So basically what I was able to do is some of them, like one, I give you one example, John.
Hey, let's have one. All
right. So one example of one of them that I hit was, and this actually happened to me like early 2020, is I live here in Vermont and my wife is from Nigeria. So there's always a cultural shift on language and stuff like that. And I remember, and for those that know, Vermont is a rural state. And I was driving my daughter to school, and on the way to school, I saw a deer, and I was like, "Oh, cool!" It's not overly, but it's interesting enough that you'd want to comment on it, but it's not so rare that it's
not like a meteor dropping out the sky.
Yeah. So what I did was, it's on my way back home. I actually told my wife, I said, you know what, I saw I saw a deer on the way to school today. And she looked at me straight faced, like she was serious about this. She said, how do you know it was going to school? And I looked at her. I'm like, that is really funny. Like I don't think she meant that the deer was going to deer school. I think she meant that the deer was actually going to the school as well.
Yeah.
But either way, I was able to like put that in. And it's funny because nowadays I've seen that joke pop up a couple times already over the last couple of years. I've seen that joke see it in the wild, and I kind of like smiled to myself knowing that that's something that I kind of brought out. One joke that I was talking about from like the 1930s and 40s that I actually rehashed and kind of brought back out. It was a Charlie McCarthy joke, and I was actually able to update it for modern sensibilities. This was and here's the joke, Johnny. It was I told my wife when I was in my 20s I was unbelievably handsome. She responded, "You're right. I don't believe it." So that is something that is, brought back out. And I would, so one thing, Johnny, is that I do have, I've published a lot of comic books in the past. So I published I published about 3 graphic novels so far that are, that people can find on my website, storycomic.com. So what I did is I wanted, because I do have an art degree. What I did is that I actually did create a book, in the book, which makes this book very unique to any other dad jokes, because you can go to the store and you can buy a dad joke on Amazon. You can buy dad jokes anywhere. Well, there's 4 things that makes mine fairly unique. The first one, it's fully colored. So it's a fully colored book, and all with my own illustrations in it. And what I do, I have 3 kids. I got a 2-year-old son. I got a 6-year-old daughter and an 8-year-old daughter. So it's very important for me to make sure that there's no such thing as gender specific chores in my house. So what I did is, like, all the backgrounds on here are things that dads would do. So I have a lawnmower, but I have doing laundry, because you know what? I do the laundry in the house. There's no such thing as gender specific jobs. Dads dig holes. I got computer tables. So there's about 25 or so of these illustrations that actually kind of that kind of like frame all the stories. And so the other thing about this book that's new as well, that I've been unable to find, unless you're looking for kids books. But if you're looking for kids jokes books, those are always safe, but they're not really that funny a lot of the times. Is this book here is 100% safe, meaning a lot of joke books that you'll find for adults to read will always end up having some level of misogyny in it, or some level of racism, or some level of insulting somebody's intelligence a bit. It's somebody's like intellectual capacity. I'm very happy to say that this book is completely safe. It actually is. My 6-year-old brings it to school. She's and she's in 1st grade primary. She's in primary school, and it's completely safe for her, the teacher, to see it. My brother works at a stone quarry. He's full of like stone dust and stuff. He eats lunch out of a metal pail. There was just a nice blue collar guy. He brings the book with him to work and makes a couple cracks on there, and people laugh at it. And my mother, who's a minister, a church minister, she has the book at church, and people laugh at it as well. That's what makes this book is completely safe, and some pretty good highbrow jokes in there that are perfectly fine for anyone. I'll give you an example here, Johnny. This is here's this. I asked a librarian if she had a book about Pavlov's dog and Schrodinger's cat. She said it rang a bell, but she wasn't sure if it was there or not. So
all right, we're breaking them out. All right, here we go. Science fiction specific. Are we ready?
I'm ready.
Right. A stormtrooper and an ensign Redshirt from Star Trek get into a fight. They both shoot. So sorry, the stormtrooper shoots and misses. The red shirt dies anyway. Yeah, so, there you go. Feel free to use that one.
Yeah,
it's funny how you mentioned, because I had one that I was going to go with. There's a guy at work, one of my colleagues, and he loves a good dad joke. He loves them, and he came up with this one a couple of last week or the week before, and I never even thought about the kind of it. To me, it's just a daft joke. I never even thought about the idea of race playing a part in it, and I'm kind of thinking, I don't know. I'll tell you the joke, and you tell me what you think. There you go. Right, yeah, we'll do this. Yeah. He said to me, because I like going to Mexico. That's a true fact. That's not the joke. Right. He said, when you go to Mexico or Spain, when you talk to Spanish or Mexican people, remember to say muchas. And well, why? Well, it means a lot to them. And I'm thinking, is that? I don't think it's racism.
No, that's language. That's language.
Language play, isn't it?
Yeah. See, that's language play.
So shout out to Dave White for keeping me impressed with all your dad jokes. Thanks.
Yeah. Well, it's like the whole thing is like the other one there. What's the play on language is how many eggs does a French person eat for breakfast?
Oh, I know this one. You only eat one because in France, one egg is enough.
That's right. Yeah. See? You know that one.
That was the West Wing. There you go. I got that one from the West Wing. The TV show, not the actual place. Yes, I know that one. Yes, we use that one in our house all the time. The weekend I made my wife poached eggs, and I said, "How many eggs do you want?" And she had just one because one's enough. I'm like, I told you that joke. Less of it. Let's have a look at the video that's on the Kickstarter. Let's see because it brings the book, I think, to life a little bit more. We just wait for that to go in there. Maximize the picture. Are you ready? Let's hit it.
Brace yourselves for the ultimate joke extravaganza. Dadder Jokes, the sequel, is here to rock your funny bone. Get ready for over 500 epic groans, chuckles, and side-splitting knee slappers, handpicked by the Grandmaster of Guffaws.
I've stopped it there, just so we can have a look at some of these jokes. What do you call a fish with two knees? A two-knee fish. What do you say when the fish? What did the fish say when it hit the wall? Damn. Oh dear me.
Yeah, so like penguins produce an oil that helps their feathers retain heat. So the oily bird gets the warm. That's so stupid.
We shall continue. Here we go.
Say goodbye to those cringeworthy, eyebrow-raising jokes. Dad Jokes keeps it squeaky clean, making it safe for school, work, and even your great aunt's tea party. From little rascals to hard hat heroes and the wisest of elders, this book is a universal laughter magnet. It's not just a book. It's a...
Here we go. Did you know that fish is a great source of omega-3, which helps the brain function? Just some food for thought. You know, I heard the Labracadabrador joke a couple of weeks ago. It took me ages to get to say Labracadabrador without getting my tongue all tied. Like the Dickens.
Yeah. I asked a librarian if they had any books on different noise levels. The librarian said, sure. What volume would you like?
You're killing me. You're killing me.
The joyride. Brace yourself.
I love that one. Typo walks into a bat. That's class.
For a colorful explosion of giggles and guffaws on every single page. Your eyes won't believe the party your brain's about to crash. Get in on this belly-aching action. Join us on Kickstarter and let's catapult dadder jokes into the world with a wave of laughter. Unleash the chuckles. Back dadder jokes today. Laughter's the name of the game, folks.
Oh, dear me. Oh, dear me.
I had such a fun time making that video. Yeah.
I will say this, my brother's favorite joke is very similar to the bat one. It's a man walks into a bar. Ow. His favorite joke. Yeah.
Or the other one's like, yeah, a man walks into a bar and he's immediately disqualified from the limbo contest.
Yeah. It's funny because sometimes if you catch the person wrong, they don't get the joke.
Right.
It took me like 10 years to get the joke of two fish in a tank. One says to the other, "How'd you drive this thing?"
Right.
And I laughed politely, go, "Yeah." It only took me it was like about a year and a half ago. I thought, "Oh, they mean like a tank, not like a fish tank, like a tank." Yeah. And I was like, because I just took it too literal. I'm just,
right.
Go figure.
Yeah. So the interesting thing too, John, is so like the piece of it too. What I love about the art of the dad joke. The art of it is that it kind of originated basically back in the late 80s. The term dad joke originated in the back, because if you think about it, Johnny, like mid 80s to early to 70s and on, the role of the father figure was always someone who was stern and wise, and never the idea of actually somebody who was able to actually crack jokes and do that. It's something around the Gen X generation who was able to like embrace the fact that what makes dad jokes specific is that it allows dads to actually have a personality in the family, and it also allows them to actually still have that residual foundation of wisdom, because you're doing a play on words. And humor is there is a level of intelligence when it comes to humor as well, and that's what part of it came down to. And a lot of it was like it's basically the late 80s is when you actually had some sitcoms that actually allowed the father figure to be goofy, like Full House. That was what the impetus of that, where you still had a serious dad, but he was made fun of because he loved to clean. You had Bill Cosby, who was back and forth a little bit, but you really didn't go full on. It's okay for dads to be goofy till you saw like in the United States, we had a show called Home Improvement where the dad was full on. Yeah. With
more
Tim Allen. Yeah. So that's really when is when you started seeing this full on. Now, all right, now dads are just goofy. And letting that happen was that cultural milestone where all of a sudden you saw movies coming out where dads could be goofy. Before, it was always the funny man in there was always somebody who was being made fun of and not being laughed with. And it wasn't until that really started happening where you started watching that in movies and television shows where dads were able to be that's where the dad joke was really kind of invented, is that play on words, because before they were just called puns. You had a word for it, but the label of dad joke really started coming from that generation. So
help me out with a kind of, I suppose, cross Atlantic thing here. Well, Christmas crackers have dad jokes in them over here. Like, what you call I can't think of what else to jump in. Oh yes. Yeah, why did the Santa's workers go on strike? because there was no elf care. Stuff like that. Do you guys have like Christmas cracker jokes over there?
We do. So I have like specific on the sequel book that is out now, I actually have an entire section that is dedicated to basically Christmas jokes on there. And we hear, which is really interesting, is like it's the only holiday that actually lasts for like 2.5 months almost. And
I was in the store yesterday. No, and I've already got an aisle for Halloween and an aisle for Christmas.
See, yeah,
it's like,
hey, man,
it's August.
It's August. That's exactly. That's a little too much. Like I'm fine with. Before I used to be okay with, Christmas decorations coming up after November. But now I'm really, I think it's just because I got kids now that I'm kind of getting back into Christmas again. So I'm fine with Christmas kind of showing up, that stuff showing up mid-November. But you're right. Mid-August is way too early for any types of Christmas related decorations now. Yeah.
I'm the Grinch. We have this discussion every year in my house. My wife wants to go up from the 1st of December. I'm like, my love, they can go up 2 days before Christmas and come down. I am the Grinch who suffers Christmas.
Right.
Sorry. But,
we had here's one for you. I found one of my Christmas crackers for you. So what goes oh. Santa walking backwards. Yeah. See, and that's the thing is that and also too, the art of humor too, Johnny, is that it is the unexpected. So that's the thing about the puns, and just actually humor itself, like like long humor. It's actually supposed to be, is really supposed to be about surprising people at the end. A really good one I heard the other day, and this isn't really a pun, but this is a joke that I heard. It was like this charity organization was noticed that the very rich lawyer in town has not donated any money to their charity. So they said, okay, so they had one of the volunteers say, listen, you need to go talk to the lawyer and see if we can get something from him. Like he's one of the richest guys in town. He hasn't given any money to our charity. He's like, all right, let me go. So the volunteer goes and knocks on the lawyer's door, and the lawyer says, yes, can I help you? And she says, yes, I'm wondering why you haven't donated money to, the town charity. And he goes, according to our research and according to our files, you haven't donated any money to us. And the lawyer looks at him and says, well, does your files also tell you that I have my nephew was in a horrible car accident and has lots of medical bills? And they said, no, I didn't know that. Okay, well, let me ask you this. Did your files also tell you that my father has a terminal disease and it's been hundreds of thousands of dollars in bills? No, I haven't. No, our files don't tell us that. He goes, let me ask you this then. Does your files tell you that also, my grandmother was also in a terrible car accident and as medical? No, it didn't say that. Okay, well, okay. So let me ask you this. If I didn't give them any money, what do you think I'm going to give you?
I think that's a good time for a break, actually. He is advert for one of our other shows. We're having a crisis. It's in the Toyverse.
That was epic.
Epic. Crisis in the Toyverse. There you go with my friend Bobo. Every figure you can think about, and then some. You know, he takes them out of the box. It's crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah, you shouldn't do that. Yeah.
Well, that's what I think. Keep them in the box, man. Yeah, I suffered Star Wars without toys in boxes, so you know. You mentioned beforehand that you've produced some comics. Where can we see your comic book work?
Yeah, so I had so storycomic.com has a few of my comics. I have long story short, Johnny, I'll give you the armchair version of where my background. So I got a degree in art. I graduated in 1998. And what does any art student do after what does anybody do with an art degree in 1998?
Drop out.
You joined the Peace. Yeah, you joined the Peace Corps. So I joined the Peace Corps. So I was in the Peace Corps. I was in the Peace Corps for about 4 years, and I was in Niger, West Africa, and loved it. So I ended up making a comic book called 2 Years, which is about my time working overseas. And so after that, I came back. I went to grad school, and then still had the bug of working overseas. So then what I did is, and I worked, chronologically speaking, I was in Pakistan after the earthquake, doing earthquake relief work. After that, then I was in the Philippines after doing for Typhoon Durian that came in 2007. And then after that, I was in South Sudan during their independence push. And then I was in Zimbabwe during the cholera outbreak. Then I was in Uganda.
Let me ask you this. Sorry to interrupt. Do countries like it when you visit them and things start going wrong?
Well, no, I'm there to fix it. So yeah, so it's a good question. So basically, there's a big difference between relief work and development work. Relief work is apolitical. There's nothing. There's no politics involved, because what you do is you show up to get everything back to where it was before, then you leave. But development work is politics, because basically what you're doing in development work is comparing their country to something else and saying, you need to be up to here. So that's where it gets a little political. So that's why I'd never work in development work. Is always some politics involved in that. And then I also worked in Libya during the revolution. I was repairing ambulances while dodging machine gun. Yeah.
This sounds to me like when Doctor Who turns up and saves the world. But of course, if he hadn't shown up, the place wouldn't have been in danger to start with.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like, yeah.
Are you the cause? Yeah. Are you the effect?
Yeah. I was there. Yeah, I was there after it started. Not so I was there. Yeah.
Well, whatever you say. Whatever you say. He's over here, guys. He's here. He's here. He's the one.
Yeah. So I had a great. So I did a comic book about that. It was called Relief. So it was kind of a satirical comic book about my time working overseas. And then my third comic book I made, it was called Lion and Dove. And it's about the saga of intercultural marriage. I met my wife in Lagos. It's basically, Johnny, it's the same generic story everybody's heard about. Cartoonist from Vermont marries Nigerian runway model. It's the same generic story.
I see that all the time. I see that all the time.
All the time. It's funny. So when I hear, because here in the United States, we have this show called 90 Day Fiance. And I laugh at it because it's a reality show.
We have something similar to Married at First Sight.
Right. See, what I love about those shows is like I find them hilarious, because I dated my wife for 30 days before we got married, because I knew there is no way, if we dated any longer, there's no way she would have married me. So I had to figure that out quick. So she would find out how much of a goofball I was, and there was no way she would have done that. And so, yeah, Johnny, I married up. I married up. I wanted to make sure, listen, every time I'm going out with my wife, and when I'm outside and people see this, this tall model looking woman, people look at it what? I don't get it. We truly are that 90s sitcom feel of the goofy, overweight husband, dad married to the beautiful woman. You remember those shows in the 90s, those sitcoms, you're this doesn't add up. So yeah, so it can happen. So yes. So if you're a goofy guy, and if you're a goofy, poor guy with that can make people laugh, it's the whole line with like Roger Rabbit when Jessica Rabbit married Roger Rabbit. She says, "What do you find?" She goes, "He makes me laugh." This proves humor. You know what? And as you get older, you know what? Your looks go, everything goes, but you know what? Your humor stays. Your humor always stays. That is your investment policy. Is finding, marry someone, be with someone who makes you laugh. That's the goal right there. That's what I have to do. Yeah,
that's the secret to success. Humor.
Yes.
Maybe you should put some in your book.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean,
I'm joking. I absolutely love a good dad joke. There's a work. Everyone, when people say to me, "Oh, I'm going to the dentist," I automatically say, "What time? 2:30?"
Yeah, exactly.
A bad joke. Everyone laughs. Everyone knows I'm going to say it, and yet everybody goes,
well, yeah. Another good joke is like the best time. You know what the best time on a clock is, right?
Yes, I saw this in the book.
Yeah, 6:30, hands down. Yeah, hands down, 6:30.
So I like that. I did like that one.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I see that really what comes down to it, Johnny. Is like this basically everybody, you've done this on your show too. You talk to people and say, "This was my COVID project," blah blah blah. So basically, it's like I had to do the first book. The first book was my COVID project because, and somebody asked me, I said, "What's your? You're gonna have to make a sequel because you're still putting out jokes." And I said, "You're right. So if I do, I'm gonna make the other one called Dadder Jokes." And obviously, I was just on a show the other day, and they said because I have my Kickstarter live now.
You're talking to
Those were just practice ones to be on your show.
Just didn't mean anything. That's what it is. All right, yeah.
Yes, that's right. Those are practice shows. I wanted to make sure I got it right. See, that's right. But they mentioned, I'm going to try to figure this out. So I'm almost halfway through my goal already on Dadder Jokes on my Kickstarter, which I'm really excited about. And I was only a few hours old too, so which was really cool. And somebody mentioned I should have a tier on there called the Dadliest Catch. So I need to, I'm going to have to switch it up a bit and actually make something that actually has that on there too. So, but it's, so I got like some different artists and stuff like that that's helping me out with everything as well. See, look at that, man, almost 200 pounds already. See,
so in dollars that's $253 against your $700. So what's that? A quarter of the way there, maybe a
little under. So
that's cool.
Because if you think about it, if it was 250 pounds, that would be halfway there. So, yeah.
Spock actually has 3 ears: the left ear, the right ear, and the final front ear. Yes.
Yeah. So for those that want to, this is really important too. Is like for those that want to, you can get both books. For those that want to get both books, you can get both books also here on the tier as well if you missed out the first one, because you can buy the first one on Amazon. You can buy it on Amazon, but it's actually a better price if you get it through the Kickstarter as well. And I have some Kickstarter exclusive covers, because as you know, Johnny, people love exclusive covers.
So, we do. We all love the variants. Yeah, we do.
Yeah. So I was able to actually reach out to and hire a few award-winning illustrators to do some covers for me as well. So,
let's have a look.
Yeah,
look at that's a bit big.
Yeah, just Dirk Stanley, Mark Gagne. He's award-winning children's book author as well. Yeah. So, these are the tiers.
Yeah. PDF. What was the reason for your PDF? I asked this for all Kickstarters, to be honest.
Right. The reason for it? So, the reason for a PDF is because it's already produced. Right. So the fact that it's already produced, and the fact is that I'm a book. I like holding books in my hand. And the idea of having PDFs, some people like PDFs. Some people like actually like ebooks, and it makes things so accessible, especially if you're able to just pull it up on either on your phone or your tablet and being able to read it as well. A lot of people travel when you're on the train or on the subway, or if you're on someplace.
I was going to say,
yeah.
what you call people who read ebooks? Vacationers.
That's
you know, yeah. The only time my Kindle comes out of its case is when I'm going on holiday and I don't want to cart 20 books with me, with customs for weight issues. You know.
Yep.
So yeah, that's the only time my bad boy comes out. So,
right, exactly, and that's what I love about it as well, is I'm able to really and so we I have some people that just really like the PDFs, and good on them. So yeah,
for me, a PDF on a Kickstarter is vital because I'm an international reader, right?
Yeah.
So I can drop my $5 or my $10 or whatever, but what I don't want to do is end up having to pay $25 in shipping costs.
Right,
because it makes it cost prohibitive. So then, in my head, I think, well, if there's a PDF, I'll get the PDF. I do prefer the comic book or the book, but by the same token, I can't afford to pay the shipping, so I'll go the easy way. So
right, yeah. Well, yeah, and that's a good point too. It's like, and I'm kind of curious of why there hasn't anybody made a market yet for Kickstarter to actually dual print books and finding a European printer.
I asked this question. I asked this question a couple of interviews ago to someone. I said, why, other countries have printing presses. Why can't you get a hold of those to, why can't you send the document to them and they can print it for you and jobs are good? And they said, oh, well, with all the exchange rate and all this, I'm like, okay, well, I don't know, but yeah,
it shouldn't cost the same. It should actually be. There's a term we use here in Vermont. It's called sugaring out. Have you heard that phrase, Johnny, at all?
I haven't, but I can imagine its connotation.
So, because Vermont is the one that produces the most maple syrup per capita in the world. So our maple syrup is the best. Like objectively, we have the best maple syrup. So Canada, if any of your Canadian audience members out there, your syrup pales in comparison to good Vermont maple syrup. So I'm telling you right now. So I will throw down with anybody who says their maple syrup is better than ours. Anyway, so here's the thing: is that they're starting to fight on your show.
Yeah,
maple syrup. The term sugaring out means, because how maple syrup is made is that it's actually comes from the maple tree in the springtime, and it comes out as water. It's called sap. Comes out tree sap. Yeah. And so for every 40 gallons of tree sap makes 1 gallon of maple syrup. So you have to boil it down to the point where it gets that turns into thick syrup. So when you say something sugars out, it means it kind of evens out at the end. So basically, it should even out at the end if you do have some more innovative Kickstarter folks who are able to identify in advance a print-on-demand person. So that way it saves on shipping, because you can do drop shifting remotely. Or it could be someone to say, hey, I know an independent comic or an independent comic creator in Great Britain or in France someplace, and say, hey, how about we do this? Anytime you're doing a Kickstarter, I'll be your US representative and you be my European rep. Yeah.
There's got to be ways. I agree with you. There's got to be ways.
Yeah, there's got to be ways. Yeah.
Excellent. Do we have time for a couple more jokes before we call it?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
I've got quite a long one.
Yeah. All right.
So my friend, again, this is a Dave White special, so a big shout out to Dave. Here we go. My friend came home from work one day to find that his duck had collapsed. And, he was in a panic, so he rang his vet and he said, Doc, my duck, I think my duck's really ill. Can you see it? And the vet said, yeah, sure. So he brought the duck down to the vet. The vet looked at the duck and said, yeah, he's dead. He goes, oh, no, I want a second opinion. He said, well, if I take it in the examining room, it's going to cost you at least £50. He's like, okay, fine. Well, I'll pay it. I love my duck. So he takes the duck into the examination room, puts a little stethoscope on. He says, no, I'm really sorry. Your duck's dead. He says, well, there must be something you can do. He says, well, hold on a second. So the vet goes out. He comes in with a golden retriever dog. He points at the dog. The dog sticks its paws on the table, lifts its nose up, gives it a sniff, licks its beak. The duck, not a thing. Dog sits down, looks at the vet and goes, "Hoo." He says, okay, I got you. Takes the dog out, comes back with a black and white tabby. Puts the cat on next to the duck. The cat looks at the duck, bobs it across the beak, because that's what cats do, bob. And looks at the vet and goes, meow. The vet goes, okay, I got you. Takes the cat out, comes back and says, right, I'm sorry to say that your duck is dead. And he says, all right, fair enough. You've done the best you can. I appreciate it. I'll pay my £50. He says, oh, no. It's now £1,500. He goes, £1,500? You told me it was 50 to examine my duck. He goes, yeah, but the lab test and cat test cost more. Cat scan, that should be, by the way. The lab test and the cat scan cost more. There you go.
Yeah. See, that was good. I was thinking I knew where it was going, and then it was right at the end of like, okay, yeah, I get it. Yeah. I saw that.
It's a long one, but there you go.
Right. See,
you have a couple of your shorter ones for.
Yeah, here we go. Here we got a couple of short ones. Here we go. For her birthday, I bought my wife new beads for her abacus. It's the little things that count. Yeah. And what's the difference between a hippo and a zippo?
Oh, hold on.
One's
a lighter, and the other. Go on.
All right. One is extremely big and heavy, and the other is a little lighter. See?
Yeah, a little lighter. I was close on that one. I was close.
You were.
I was close. Oh my God.
Yeah. How do you get Pikachu on a bus?
Pokemon.
There you go. You knew that one.
I know that one. How do you make a snooker table laugh? So in America, how do you make a pool table laugh?
How?
This one's a bit rude. Sorry. You put your hand in its pocket and tickle its balls. Maybe don't put that in the sequel.
Yeah, that won't make my book. Yeah.
Why did the banana go to the doctors?
Why did the banana go to the doctors? Something about peeling.
Yeah, it wasn't peeling very well.
I wasn't peeling very well.
Those last three are my kids' favorite. The Pokemon one, the snooker one, and the banana one. Those are my kids' favorite jokes when he was growing up. There you go. Barney, it's been an absolute blast, man. Absolute blast. If you're interested in checking out the project, there is the link. Yes, I know Kickstarter links are long. Yes, I know. All you got to do is go to Kickstarter.com, type in Dada Jokes, and you know what'll happen? It'll take you there as if by magic. You know,
right? And they could also, John, if they wanted to go to storycomic.com, there's a hyperlink right there, right on the front too. So,
check that out.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah,
excellent. Barney, it's been an absolute blast, man.
Yes, this is amazing. Thank you for having me come on.
You are more than welcome, sir. More than welcome. I can't wait to see some more of these jokes. It's honestly, I'm probably going to have to pledge just to give it to my friend at work, just to see you.
Yeah.
Read this,
right.
just get him off my case for a while. Well done. Excellent. All right, guys, that's it for another great show. Barney, you've been fantastic. Thank you for spending the time. I really do appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Don't forget to check out the UCPM for all your favorite shows. You saw the trailer for it earlier. It was a crisis in Toyverse. And if you like your comics of a certain vintage, then of course check out the Old Timers Comic Book Show, where the hosts aren't old, but the comics most certainly are. What can I say? We've got it all. Barney, thank you so much.
Thank you.
I have been your host, Johnny Machine Hughes. And as always, adios.
Visit undercovercapes.com for the latest and greatest podcasts via the Undercover Capes Podcast Network. Also visit our parent company website, comiccrusaders.shop, all about comic pop culture.